Do you know what the most ridiculous sight in a nuclear blast or a total economic collapse is? It's not the chaos. It's the image of a prepper lying dead next to a $5,000 tactical rucksack that's still got the tags on it. That's right. The high-end gear you're hoarding in your garage isn't a golden ticket to the future. In most risk scenarios, it's actually your death warrant. Welcome back to Cyber Rat. I'm your guide to stripping away survival illusions through the lens of risk science and systems strategy. Here, we don't talk about shopping. We talk about understanding. Why does a $5 ceramic water filter outlast a high-tech RO system? Why is a fundamental grasp of electrolysis worth more than a warehouse full of backup batteries? My name is Cyber Rat, and I'm here to make sure that when the world goes dark, you aren't just a mobile loot box for someone else. Today, we're dissecting a concept I call the prepper paradox. In system science, complexity is directly proportional to the failure rate. When you throw money at high-tech gadgets, you're essentially buying dependency. You don't own that gear. That gear owns your chances of survival. We're going to analyze why 90% of what's marketed to you in survival magazines will turn into toxic junk just 6 months after the collapse. And more importantly, I'm going to show you how to think like a true repairer, using physics, chemistry, and psychology to turn scrap into survival power. Check your gas mask. We're going deep into the details. The core of the prepper paradox lies in a fundamental principle of physics: entropy. Every high-tech gadget you own is a ticking time bomb of planned obsolescence. Take those high-capacity lithium-ion power banks you've stacked to the ceiling. Without a stable power grid to regulate their thermal environment, the chemical separators inside will degrade, turning your infinite energy into a volatile fire hazard within a few hundred cycles. Even your fuel stash is a liability. After 6 to 12 months, oxidation and evaporation turn gasoline into a gummy resin that will seize a high-compression engine in seconds. This is the failure of a centralized mindset. When you buy a pre-packaged solution, you aren't buying security. You are merely renting time from a supply chain that no longer exists. In a post-collapse world, if you can't manufacture the spare parts or synthesize the chemistry yourself, you don't own the tool. You're just holding it until it breaks. Beyond the hardware, there is the devastating reality of disaster psychology. In a total societal breakdown, your $500 camo-patterned ballistic nylon pack doesn't make you a soldier. It makes you a high-value target. It screams to every desperate person in a 10-mile radius that you have resources worth killing for. Behavioral science shows that when starvation sets in, social morality is rapidly replaced by pack survival instinct. If you look like you're playing a video game while everyone else is fighting for a crust of bread, you have effectively deselected yourself from the community and painted a bullseye on your back. True survival isn't about being the best equipped outlier. It's about social camouflage and the ability to integrate into or lead a resilient system. The strategy we preach here at Cyber Rat is built on hard science. We value a low-tech, gravity-fed sand filter over a battery-dependent UV purifier because gravity never suffers a mechanical failure. We prioritize the knowledge of how to rewind a copper coil to scavenge electricity from a ceiling fan over the hoarding of proprietary solar panels. The goal is to lower your complexity footprint. The less you rely on a dead civilization's manufacturing standards, the higher your chances of seeing the next decade. Remember the formula: survival equals knowledge multiplied by adaptability, divided by your dependence on gear. If your gear is doing the thinking for you, you're already dead. You just haven't stopped breathing yet. This brings us to the final layer of the survival equation: systemic resilience and the repairer ethos. To truly escape the prepper paradox, you must transition from a consumer to a creator. In the professional world of risk management, we focus on the redundancy of principles, not just the redundancy of objects. If you have 10 flashlights, you have 10 points of failure. If you understand the physics of a jewel thief circuit, you have light, as long as there is scrap electronics and a dying battery. The future belongs to the scavengers who can bypass the black box of modern technology. You need to look at a junkyard not as a pile of debris, but as a hardware store of raw materials, copper, magnets, glass, and steel, waiting for the right intellectual framework to be reactivated. This is why we focus on hard science, because the laws of thermodynamics and electromagnetism are the only laws that won't be repealed when the government falls. But the most critical system you will ever manage isn't a power grid. It's your cognitive framework. While the average prepper is busy counting cans of beans, the cyber rat is analyzing the geopolitics of the local fortress cities and the failure points of centralized infrastructure. You need to understand how to map target zones and predict the flow of human migration once the taps run dry. Survival is a game of chess played on a board where the squares are constantly moving. If your strategy relies on staying hidden in a basement with a pile of gold and a rifle, you aren't a survivor. You're a hoarder waiting for a siege. True resilience is mobile, decentralized, and intellectually agile. It's about building a distributed network of skills and allies, rather than a centralized fortress of stuff. As we close this analysis, ask yourself, if I took away your gear right now and left you with nothing but a multi-tool and the clothes on your back, how long would you last? If that question makes you sweat, so you've spent too much money and not enough time in the books. The gear is just a luxury. Your mind is the only weapon that doesn't jam and the only tool that doesn't rust. Stop prepping for a weekend camping trip and start preparing for a new reality. Learn the chemistry, master the mechanics, and harden your psychology. This is Cyber Rat. We don't just survive the end of the world, we rebuild it, one scavenged part at a time. Gear down, head up. I'll see you in the wasteland. Now, let's address the cold, hard reality of the long-term recovery phase. Most people prepare for the first 72 hours, or maybe the first 30 days, the cinematic apocalypse. But survival isn't a movie. It's a grueling marathon of maintenance. This is where the thermodynamics of scarcity kicks in. Once the global supply chain snaps, every advanced material you own begins its inevitable decay. Your waterproof Gore-Tex will delaminate, your high-performance adhesives will dry rot, and your specialized medical supplies will lose their potency. This is why the Cyber Rat philosophy focuses on legacy tech, the kind of science that powered the Industrial Revolution before the world became obsessed with microchips and planned obsolescence. If you can't forge a blade from leaf springs or synthesize basic acetic acid for food preservation, you are simply a ghost waiting for your supplies to run out. Strategic analysis dictates that the ultimate survival asset is systemic integration. You must become an indispensable node in whatever local economy emerges from the ashes. A man with a crate of gold is a target. A man who knows how to repair a localized irrigation system or refine biofuel from organic waste is a community asset. This is the shift from individual survival to social engineering. By mastering the low-tech, high-science bridge, you create a shield of utility around yourself. You don't need a private army when the local leaders rely on your ability to keep their scavenged radio grid operational. Survival isn't about isolation. It's about making yourself too valuable to be killed. You aren't just surviving the collapse. You're positioning yourself as the architect of the reconstruction. So, here's your final directive. Audit your inventory through the lens of repairability. If a piece of gear requires a proprietary part, a specialized software update, or a clean room environment to fix, it is a liability. Throw it away or trade it while it still has perceived value. Replace it with the raw knowledge of metallurgy, botany, and basic structural engineering. Invest in the hard science manuals, the heavy-duty hand tools, and the mental toughness to operate without a safety net. The era of the consumer prepper is over. The era of the cyber rat has begun. We don't fear the breakdown of the machine because we are the ones who know how the machine works. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your hands on the wrench, and your mind on the physics. This is Cyber Rat. Signal out. Finally, we must confront the geopolitics of the ruin, the stage where individual survival scales up into the brutal reality of territorial control. When the map turns gray and the old borders fade, the world doesn't become a lawless void. It becomes a mosaic of fortress nodes and dead zones. To navigate this, you need to apply systems thinking to the very landscape around you. You have to analyze your environment like a thermal map of risk. Is your retreat located near a strategic target zone, like a decaying rail hub or a dormant communication array? If so, you aren't in a sanctuary, you're in a future battlefield. The cyber rat doesn't just hide in the woods. The cyber rat understands the hydraulic theory of power, that whoever controls the flow of water, the source of salt, and the high ground for signal transmission dictates the terms of the new civilization. This leads us to the ultimate survival tool, information sovereignty. In the dark age, data becomes a physical commodity. If you've spent $5,000 on tactical vests, but haven't secured a hard copy library of engineering schematics, medical encyclopedias, and topographical maps, you have failed the most basic risk assessment. We call this the digital dark age risk. Everything on the cloud is gone. Everything on your encrypted drive is one electromagnetic pulse or one corroded circuit board away from oblivion. True resilience means translating digital convenience into analog permanence. You must be the custodian of the old world's logic, mastering the chemical formulas for black powder, the biological cycles of nitrogen-fixing crops, and the mechanical ratio of pulleys. You are not just a survivor. You are a living backup drive for human progress. As the sun sets on the world as we knew it, remember that the prepper paradox is ultimately a trap of the ego. It's the belief that you can buy your way out of the fundamental laws of nature, but nature doesn't care about your brand name boots or your high-lumen strobe light. It only cares about equilibrium. You either adapt to the new equilibrium of a low-energy, high-consequence world, or you become part of the fossil record. This is the end of our deep dive into the $5,000 mistake. Stop being a collector of things and start being a master of principles. Harness the physics, respect the entropy, and build your life on a foundation of repairable logic. This has been Cyber Rat. The lights might be flickering, but our vision has never been clearer. Stay grounded, stay sharp, and above all, stay functional. Signing off for the last time from Sector 7. See you in the rebuild.